Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience episode number 489. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards. Once homeless to first woman and African American to sit on the board of a major financial services company in the U.S., now founder and managing director of Grace Capital Global, LLC. Welcome, Grace Vandecruze.
Thank you, Dr. Frances. It's great to be here, and it's been quite a journey for me. And I'm the proud founder of Grace Global Capital, and looking forward to our conversation.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the blanks, Grace, and share with our audience what you want them to know about you and your business?
Sure. First, about me. There is a Nigerian proverb that I love, and it says, wherever the stream flows, it never forgets its source. And my source of strength, the broad shoulders on which I stand on today, is my late grandmother, Hagar. And she grew up in a small country in South America, Guyana. And she and my granddad had 9 biological children. But in spite of their limited resources, they found room in their hearts to adopt 5 young sisters who lost their mom. So my grandmother raised 14 children. I'm the second oldest of 7. And as a result, I am one of 52 grandchildren. Yes, 52 grandchildren. I come from a very big family. But as we speak here today, I can assure you that I was my grandmother's favorite. See, I knew I was her favorite because my grandmother had very little education. She learned to read and write. She told me from reading the King James Version of the Bible. She would hold my hands, look into my eyes, and say, Grace, you have lengthened my years and you have blessed my eyesight. What an amazing privilege it was for me to grow up hearing those words. But her most treasured words to me were, believe beyond your limits. As a child, I never appreciated or knew what believing beyond your limits meant. But as I grew, I believe that has been the theme that has permeated my life. It's permeated my life as I go from a homeless shelter to ringing the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange. It's permeated my life as I navigated the corporate ladder and became a managing director on Wall Street, and now having my own global financial services company focused on the insurance industry. And it has navigated my life as I climb over 25 mountain peaks on 3 different continents.
That is amazing. Grace, tell us, what was that pivotal moment when you knew that you were going to make it?
Interesting. I can't begin to tell you if it was just one moment, because life challenges, you hear this saying, new level, new devil. Life challenges keeps hitting you. And I've had several moments when I say, I can do this. But I'll go to one moment. Is a defining moment in my life was between my second and third year of college. And I went to Pace University for my undergrad in New York City, commuted from the Manhattan to Brooklyn on Saratoga Avenue. That's where I'm second oldest of 7. My parents, who had immigrated to the United States when I was 14, and we shared a brownstone of 9. Yes, a family of 9 shared a brownstone apartment on Saratoga Avenue in Brooklyn. So I'm commuting back and forth to that apartment. And between my second and third year, I went home in June, a beautiful, clear summer's day. And as I turned the corner to Saratoga Avenue, I saw the most chaotic scene of fire trucks, police vehicles. And as I walked closer, it's the most sinking feeling that it's your place. It's your place that's smoking in flames. It's your place where all the windows are broken. And the fire policemen at that time were just wrapping up the work. And I met my mom, and she had some of my siblings outside with her. And I said, "What happened? What happened?" And she said very calmly, "Can't you see? We had a fire." And as the day progressed and the shock became even more real to us, my late dad arrived, and everyone who came by and saw what was going on, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, family and friends, had the same suggestion for my parents. And they said, "Look, you're a family of 9. Why don't you split up into twos and threes, live apart, and when you get yourself together, come back together as a family unit." But my late dad, who was standing there, who always told us that the saddest day of his life was when he was orphaned at the age of 8, and he was separated from his 2 brothers. And he said he grew up with such a void in his life, not having his siblings around at the most difficult time in his life. And he said, "We are not separating." In the midst of the ashes, he was so determined to keep us together as a family unit. And the only place we can go to be together as a unit was a New York City homeless shelter. So a day that began with me pursuing an education, a college degree, feeling good about my life, ended dramatically in a homeless shelter. And I was walking in, and I'll never forget this. I was walking in that shelter with me, mom, dad, 6 other siblings, because I'm second of 7. And my mom had me go back into that apartment to see what I can salvage. And what shocked me was how precious little I was able to get from that apartment. So I went in with a 13-gallon trash bag to see what I can put in. I discovered what was not destroyed by fire was destroyed by smoke or destroyed by water. I was able to get very little in terms of a few pictures, books. And so that 13-gallon trash bag was with me. It was all the worldly possessions we had at the time. So here is a day that began with my parents pursuing the American dream, ended with just an American nightmare. And here we are walking into this shelter with that 13-gallon trash bag with lots of room to spare. And that was one of the most dramatic times in my life. And just to go back to that question, what did I think in that moment that allowed me to say, "I think I can get through this"? And Dr. Francis, I can only point back to my grandmother's words, "Believe beyond your limits." Because what I know, and I come to know that meant was never plan your goals, your life's vision based on your current circumstances. That your current circumstances cannot contain the vision, your potential that's within you. That your current circumstances can deceive you into thinking this is always going to be what it is. And it's not. That while I was in that shelter was not in me. There was nothing within my spirit that shelter resonated with. So I will pause there, but I just wanted to share that one story with you.
And talk to us, Grace, about that moment leaving the shelter. What was the time period, and how long did it take you?
Sure. So we were in that shelter for 6.5 months, okay, which is an eternity to be in a New York City shelter. But God bless my parents, because they're the real heroes of this story. How do you keep a family of 9 together in a New York City shelter? I think it's for the movies. But my parents were able to keep us just pursuing an education. One of the things about life suddenlies, when a sudden tragedy hits you out of nowhere, is that there's a shaking and awakening within you that says, okay, what am I going to do at this moment? Am I going to stand here, freeze, or am I going to move forward to continue my education? What is meaningful to me at the moment? And to me, what was meaningful to me at the moment is that I needed a bridge out of there. It's like, how quickly can I get out of this situation? And I knew that my education was the bridge out. So I went to my university. I was planning my fall semester. I had 12 credits that I had registered for. And I told them that I needed to take 18 credits, which was the maximum you can take at the school. And I worked 2 jobs at the school. I knew that the less time I spent in the shelter and the more time I spent pursuing my dreams at the university, surrounding myself in an environment where I know that it's going to give me the bridge to get out of my situation, was my secret sauce to succeeding.
And tell us, what did you major in and why?
Oh, absolutely. So I majored in accounting. And why? Because my first day of high school, I did an aptitude test. And at the end of the aptitude test, the counselor came in and said, look, your quantitative skills are exceedingly off the charts, very good. And I suggest that you major in one of 2 things, either accounting or Spanish. So, Dr. Francis, I was puzzled by both. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't take this aptitude test in Spanish. However, coming from South America, I knew some Spanish. And so I said, oh, well, maybe that's why she said that. But I didn't know what accounting was. I'm always drawn to learning the complexities and knowing new things. I have this insatiating appetite for intellectual curiosity. So accounting intrigued me more. And I thought, well, maybe I'll work at a bank. Maybe that's what accountants do, but not knowing fully well what accountants do. I said yes to accounting, and I started taking my accounting courses in high school. And to me, it was easy as breathing. For those of you who are accountants listening to my voice, for every debit, there's a credit. It's linear. The trial balance balances. And I did accounting throughout high school. I took the accounting regents, which is a standardized test in New York. I got a perfect score. The head of my accounting department at Tilden High School, by the way, it's a high school I went to, the head of the accounting department there was also an adjunct professor at Pace University. And so that's why I went to Pace University and I majored in accounting. I just want to say one word about my high school because it's now closed. My high school is the same high school where Al Sharpton and Larry King graduated from. So just to put it in perspective, quite amazing. That's what I majored in, was accounting.
And talk about your journey into becoming an entrepreneur.
After majoring in accounting, I graduated. I took the CPA exam. I passed it. I was an auditor at EY. I did that work for about 5 years, and then I started to get bored. I needed a bigger challenge. I was very drawn to Wall Street and working on transactions. And I went to Wharton Business School at the University of Penn. I got an MBA. And while I was getting my MBA, between my first and second year, I interned at Merrill Lynch in their investment banking group, did exceedingly well, went back working there after graduation. And that began my career on Wall Street. I ascended to managing director focused on the insurance industry. And I was working for a global company and doing my tenure as a managing director. In the last 3 years, I was managing director. My division was sold 4 times. 4 times. First, we were sold to an independent buyer. Then that independent buyer sold us to someone else. Then we had an employees buy-in. Anyhow, there was a lot of disruption. And so I had several moments where I would start to sit and think, here am I coming to work every day with an entrepreneurial spirit. I had a balance sheet to manage. I had to grow. I'm building new clients. And one day I had an epiphany because I was so distracted with all of the politicking and what's happening outside, and I wanted to stay focused on clients. I called all of my clients, and my clients back then were insurance companies and insurance regulators. I was advising them on mergers and acquisitions. So the insurance industry is very fragmented, where the top 10 insurance company controls about 55% of the marketplace. That's their market share. And then over 3,000 insurance companies have 45% of the market share. So it's very fragmented, and they're looking to consolidate. So an advisor like me help bring buyers and sellers of their companies together so that they can grow and become bigger and expand their brands. One day I was at work and I just called all of my clients and I said, I am thinking of starting my own business. Would you support me? And they were all quite familiar with the company I was with all of the disruptions. And they knew that I was quite focused on client service. I really put my all in all into my work. And 100% of them said, yes, we'll support you. And that was what gave me the extra push, the extra encouragement I need, and the extra courage, because it takes a lot of courage to be an entrepreneur, to start my own business. And that's what's birthed Grace Global Capital.
And how did you feel, Grace, when you made that call? Because a lot of times when we're transitioning from our 9 to grind, it takes a lot of not only courage, but did you feel like any of those clients that you were calling would have alerted your company?
No, I did not think they would alert my company. I also felt that my company had also made it clear that they were divesting from business, which really gave me an opening. And I think my clients, they were the ones sometimes calling me saying, we just read this in the paper. Your company is transitioning. Are you still going to be there? How are you doing? How are you faring? I had built up a lot of rapport and support from my clients, and they had seen me just stay within it. I mean, the grind, I wouldn't call it from nine to grind for me. It was grind to grind. I was grinding away, being an entrepreneur at a global company, just focused on my clients and focused on building the business. And while my goals were on the clients, whoever was making a strategic decision for that global company looked at us and said we were non-core. It was core and essential for me and my clients. So they gave me the support I need to say, look, let me just focus on you. Let's set up Grace Global Capital to give you the best imaginable service without any of the overhang of someone in corporate America above me would do. Let me just control my own destiny at this point.
So who is your ideal client?
My ideal client for Grace Global Capital is a middle-sized insurance company looking to grow, looking to expand its business and its brands. And I assist my clients in finding other companies that can align with them and their goals and visions.
Advice you wish you had followed.
An advice I wish I had followed is listen to your intuition. One of the things that I have learned, and I've learned this through going through my own experiences, and when I look back and things didn't work out, I think where I failed was just not listening to my intuition. We tend to give another person, more of a benefit of a doubt than we need to. And listening to my intuition has kept my worth and my value at a level that it deserves. But it took me a while to get there and say, listen to your intuition.
Grace, if you lost everything, how would you rebuild in 30 days? What industry and why?
Oh my gosh, that is a very good question. And let me really think of this carefully. If I lost everything today, I would remember that while I may have lost all of my financial worth, that the value within me was always immeasurable and invaluable, that I should focus on more of what's in me, my inner strength, and the fact that I know that I have built up the level of skills, relationships, a level of knowledge that will continue to restart and rebuild. And the same God that has gotten me through homelessness, fire, divorce, disease, depression is the same God that's going to get me through to the next level. I will always remember that right now we are living in an age of abundance where technology advancement is happening at a pace that is accelerating every day. And if I had to focus on one thing today, I would focus on AI and I would focus on technology advancement. It is why in my passion right now is taking all of my learnings at Wall Street, taking the fact that I went from homelessness to millionaire, and I've developed some master classes to say to everyone listening to my voice, look at my journey and understand how the financial markets is today and where it's going, and what are the investment opportunities where African Americans in particular can capture the technology advancement and the fact that we all have a computer in the palm of our hands, capture this and invest and build and maximize wealth.
And I think that's really amazing, especially when you talk about African Americans, wealth building, and let's talk about access to capital. Someone is listening and saying, okay, Grace, I hear you. I have the technology. I'm struggling in my business financially. What advice? Raising capital, getting that traditional capital is not as readily available to African Americans. What advice would you give?
What advice I'd give them is stop looking in traditional spaces to get you access to capital. You will spend a lot of time grinding with very, very little return. It's no secret that the wealth of the funds do not go to African American businesses. However, there is a great opportunity because African American, female African American entrepreneurs are the fastest growing entrepreneurs in United States right now. And quite frankly, female African Americans are the most educated group in America. So here we are, we're most intelligent, we are dynamic women who have ideas and within us that can build tremendous businesses. So the one thing I would say is if you can self-finance, grow slower, but self-finance, do it. And also we have to capitalize more on F&F, which is friends and families, in order to grow our business. And so here is where relationship currency will benefit you tremendously. I think one of the things we need to do is continue to network outside of our circles in order to raise capital and build businesses. One of the things I tell female entrepreneurs, if you're looking to get started, go to a website that's ifundwomen.com. ifundwomen.com are where women entrepreneurs grow to crowdfund their business. And I would start there and look for those sources of capital.
Grace, talk about your top two mentors or coaches. What advice did they give you?
One of the advice that I got, and it's amazing how your coaches and mentors can come from unexpected places. And one came from Madeleine Albright, of all persons. And she was on a talk show, and the host said to her, "Look, you are in the midst of giving advice to men, just men who run countries with big egos. Some of them are dictators. When you're in a room with men, how do you get your voice heard?" And being the only woman, by the way, how do you get your voice heard? And she said something that resonated with me, and one of the best advice, and I have used this. And she said one word, and that is interrupt. She said, if women wait to be heard, we'll never be heard. We are there, our very presence. And you mentioned that I sit on 5 boards. Many of the companies manage $1 trillion or more of assets. And you're sitting, you walk into the room. Number one, the fact I know that I'm not there by accident. I know that I've had a tremendous amount of background and skills and expertise, but how do I make a difference? And our voices are so powerful. When we walk into a room, our very presence is a disruptive force. And while disruption is used negatively, I use it positively. People, the center of attention becomes on us and using our voice. And one of the things I do is I interrupt. Excuse me, boom. Here is a nugget of wisdom this room needs to understand. That's happening in the marketplace. That's going to impact us strategically. Let us consider this. I think when we interrupt and we bring a profound, insightful, thoughtful comments to the table, we become memorable and invaluable. That is one advice that I've heard. And my mentors over the years have said very similar, given me very similar advice. This is your moment to shine. When the spotlight is on you, shine your light brightly. We did not wake up in this world to shrink. We wake up in this world so that the world understands and know what we bring to the table. Many of us entrepreneurs, we're building our own tables and bringing people around us to really enhance our brands and enhance our goals and vision. Once again, it's our voices, the way we communicate, the way we express what's the burning within us in the world is how our value will be determined.
You talked about divorce. Let's talk about marriage, entrepreneurship, and divorce.
It's interesting because I got out of a marriage as an entrepreneur and remarried as an entrepreneur. So I understand the journey. So my divorce had nothing to do with the fact that I was an entrepreneur. My divorce had everything to do with the fact that I had made a wrong choice for me, that I was in a marriage that I was determined to fix, but you cannot fix a person that doesn't change. You cannot fix a situation where you have a growth mindset and the other person doesn't. And there's a moment in every woman's life where they say, does this feed my soul? And in order for us to move to our next, we have to get rid of a lot. And I know this from climbing a mountain. When I climbed on summit of Kilimanjaro or the highest peak in Europe, or I climbed Everest Base Camp and Camp 1, I know that there are baggages that we carry that we have to let go of in order to get to the next step, particularly the toxic ones. And, as women, we tend to hold on because we tend to fix things, and we can fix things and fix things, but we have to be careful that we're not trying to fix a person who are not going to change. One of the courageous things I did was to walk out of a marriage that no longer served me. And quite frankly, after my divorce, I felt that every day of my life beyond that was a celebration, that I was being buried by toxicity. And I just loved the fact that I was able to, and I didn't need to seek any advice. My intuition saved me. And my clients knew about this because I called my clients and I said, look, I explained to them that I completed a divorce. And one of the things I said, and I'm here to serve you 100%. I just want you to know I'm here to serve you 100%. And just everyone was supportive. Everyone understands that sometimes we try some things and it doesn't work and we have to move on. And they admire my candid comments and my honesty, and I was still serving them with integrity. So I'll pause there to see.
Thank you for sharing that. And you found love again?
Oh, absolutely. And I think more like love found me. And I went back to my graduate school reunion and I was doing a TED talk on mountain climbing because I became a mountain climber because a former professor had invited me on a mountain climb. And there was a fascinating story. The first climb I was on, one of the mountaineers died on the climb. And many people in that climb said, I'll never climb a mountain again. But a small group of us got together and said, wait a minute, our fallen mountaineer had a vision of climbing mountains and learning everything he could. Why don't we honor him by keep on climbing? And so I was there to tell the school that the 11 mountaineers, including myself, have climbed over 25 mountain peaks on 3 different continents and this amazing story. And the school loved it. But they said, look, you need, can you get a classmate to introduce you? And so I got a classmate. He introduced me. And of course, our relationship started building from there. And he was the one that where allowed me to really know what love, true love, and falling in love and trusting is all about. And from there, our relationship just bloomed. And I must say, I'm the happiest I have ever been in my life.
Congratulations, and thank you for sharing that. I want you to have a monologue. I want you to name this person, living or not. They've inspired you so much. Who is that person, and what are you saying to that person?
Yes, my grandmother has inspired me so much. And one of the things that I would share with her, I would give her an orchid, and she would every time I give her a plant, including orchids, she knew how to make it last forever because she was always a woman who knew how to use resources, and she knew she was at heart a farmer. She knew how to really use the earth, ground the earth to make things grow, blossom, and bring forth much fruit. And I would tell her that I admire her so much, the resiliency that she has exhibited in life, and the fact that she would shower everyone with such forgiveness. She never kept a grudge. She just lay aside any negativity possibly. She knew how to hold your hands, speak to your soul, and build the bridges. She knew to give you the words to console you in any situation, encourage you along the way. She is my tower of strength. She's the one I think of every single day. There's not a presentation, there's not a client meeting, there's not a country I've gone to, or the strange places that I have traveled where my foot have landed, where my grandmother wasn't with me each and every step of the way.
Grace, what is something you have not done that you would like to do, that you dream about often?
There are many things I have not done. I have 101 plus list of things to do in 12 different areas that I've planned for my life. So one is to master the fluency of a second language, which is Spanish. I'd like to do that. I would like to travel privately all the time, not sometimes, all the time. I'd like to do that. And there are many places I'd like to go to. I love to travel. I've been to over 50 countries, but there's still more places to explore. I have not climbed the 7 mountain peaks. I've climbed 4 of the 7, and I have made arrangements to climb Antarctica and haven't done it, COVID and many other things. So yes, I'd like to continue climbing in ways. That's just to name a few things. I also play the piano and I'd love, there are pieces I'd like to continue to master. So, it is what gives me life, goals and visions and having this growth mindset and continuing to do things.
Does your husband climb?
No, he does not climb, but he does travel. And he said he's more than happy to greet me at the end of the journey. But no, he is not climbing to 20,000 feet altitude. No, that's not his passion. And I understand that.
Grace, what problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
My moonshot goal is to get people insured, particularly African Americans. My moonshot goal is to get 1 billion more people on insurance. Dr. Francis, let's look at the world today. Where we live, for most of us, we're in zones where climate change will impact us. And the insurance companies know this. Many parts of Africa will get so hot, it's going to be inhabitable. Many parts along the coast of the US will get flooded. We have a higher frequency of storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, and it will continue. And when you think of it, many of us are not insured enough. We're underinsured in so many areas. And the insurance gap will go a long way to bridging the wealth gap. And we cannot afford as a people to live our lives, build our wealth, use our hard work and resources, our blood, sweat, and tears, building things and not insuring it. Our homes, our properties need to be insured, also our lives. The way you transfer wealth from one generation to the next, tax-free, is life insurance, and we need to insure ourselves. And just to name one more insurance, although there are many of us, the biggest risk is that we'll outlive our savings, and we need long-term care insurance. That's the one insurance many don't think of, but long-term care insurance. So I would say, yes, I'd like to bridge that gap. Think of it. Had my parents had insurance, that homeless shelter would have been a brand new apartment. It's why I feel my life has taken a full circle. Coming out of that shelter, now I advise insurance companies because I strongly believe in families staying together healthy and safe. I believe in a financial safety net, and I believe each and every one of us can empower ourselves financially. And so my master classes and my book is based on a step-by-step journey, the way I would climb a mountain. And in order to really have a simplistic approach in building wealth and to really have all of the harnesses and tools you need to uplift you on your financial abundance journey.
If someone's interested in your masterclass, how would they connect?
Yes, they can connect. Wealth Wisdom Accelerator Masterclass is www.masterclass.com. Also, my book is Homeless to Millionaire. It's on Amazon. You can get that book. And of course, graceglobalcapital.com is also another way to contact me. I am on all the social media handles at Grace Vandecruze.
And Grace, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I'd like you to ask the question and answer it.
The question I would ask myself is, what do you wish you had done earlier in your life? And one of the things I wish I had done earlier in my life is to believe more in myself, that to understand that there's a level of intelligence, radiance, legacy that I carry with me, that I should raise my head up high and not be distracted by the fact that I was the only Black person in the room or the only woman in the room, that later on I would learn that those are my strengths, not my weaknesses, and those are things that I can capitalize on. And many times that I enter into room, I came in with more wealth, with more knowledge of wealth, with more wisdom, with more experience, with more grind, with more blood, sweat, and tears than anyone else in that room. That's what I wish I had told myself early on.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Rapid Round of Fun. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Rapid Round of Fun?
Ready.
Your favorite comfort food?
I would say custard, bland. I love custard. So anything custardy, sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie, a custard pie. Here I am ice cream. Love it. Custard.
The last movie you saw?
The Titanic. I may be one of the few people in the world that didn't see the Titanic until now, but the Titanic.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Whitney Houston.
Your favorite dance song?
So many. Any Beyonce song.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Every week, no matter what, I'm eating berries. Love it.
Your ideal car?
Pass.
Workout or hit the couch?
Hit the couch.
Grace Vandecruze, thank you so much for joining us on Black Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. Before we let you go, share with our audience, and I know you mentioned it before, but share with our audience the best way for them to connect with you and do business with you. And feel free to leave all your social media handles.
Yes, the best way to do business with me. My name is Grace Vandecruze. So it's at Grace Vandecruze on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. For my masterclasses, www.masterclass.com. And also for my advisory business, it's graceglobalcapital.com.
Thank you, Grace. That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.